1968 was a year filled with bold voices and backroom grooves. A moment when small neighborhood bands created music that deserved far larger stages. Midway down our list, a Detroit group crafted a smoky, slow burn that still drifts through memory like a dream. These are 10 obscure R&B bands from 1968, hidden gems that shape the soul underground and still shimmer with timeless fire. Number 10, The Hesitations by The Hesitations, harmony touching the edge of Motown's shadow.
As free as the wind blows.
The Hesitations had been grinding since the mid-1960s, sharpening their sound in Cleveland clubs before recording with Cap Records in 1968. They lived in the massive shadow of Motown, yet they fused street corner grit with velvet harmonies in a way that felt fresh and quietly electrifying.
You're free as the roaring tide, and there's no need.
Their album Soul Superman captured their character perfectly. A surprising bit of history surrounds their sessions. After the tragic death of producer Jack Ashford, their early work was nearly shelved. The label considered moving on, but the band insisted on continuing. Many sessions took place late at night with bare lighting and tired engineers, and that mood crept into their sound. You can almost feel the soft drum pulse, the layered voices moving like warm breath, the horns trembling gently in the still air.
Hallelujah. Well, I'm born free. Hallelujah.
Though they never reached mainstream recognition, Northern soul DJs and harmony collectors still lift their music into the spotlight. If this taste of smooth soul hits you right, wait until you hear the psychedelic energy of the next group. Number 9, The Soul Survivors. By The Soul Survivors, East Coast grit wrapped in a Philly heartbeat.
Do you feel it, baby? Well, I know you feel it.
By 1968, The Soul Survivors were evolving beyond their earlier success. Working with the rising team of Gamble and Huff, they helped build foundations that would later define the Philadelphia sound. Their songs from this year carried both R&B strength and a new sense of experimentation. Behind the scenes, the band faced pressure to recreate earlier chart victories, but instead, they trusted the groove. Many sessions began with only a bass line. Then, layer by layer, they built songs that felt like living, breathing rooms of rhythm. Picture a studio with wood-paneled walls, amber board lights glowing, and musicians leaning into each beat with calm determination. While not every release charted, their contributions became a reference point for the young musicians who would later push Philadelphia soul into global fame. If that gave you a dose of East Coast fire, the next group brings a warm Southern flavor. Number 8, The Bar-Kays by The Bar-Kays. A powerful rebirth from Memphis. 1968 was a year of tragedy and rebirth for The Bar-Kays. After losing most of the band in the plane crash that also took Otis Redding, the surviving members faced a future no one could prepare for. Yet, they rebuilt in the same year and committed themselves to the Stax Records sound. They returned to Memphis sessions with a new lineup and a renewed will to create. Many rehearsals took place during late-night studio hours because those were the only open slots. The heat inside the room was intense and the air conditioning barely worked. Musicians played through the sweat, shaping grooves that felt raw, hypnotic, and alive with urgency. Their 1968 sound influenced later funk pioneers, including groups that shaped the next decade. If that was resilience transformed into rhythm, the next band launched listeners straight into psychedelic color. Number 7, The Chambers Brothers. By The Chambers Brothers, gospel raised to psychedelic heights.
Don't care what others say. They think we don't listen.
The Chambers Brothers already had a reputation for live shows that felt like spiritual storms. But 1968 was the year they expanded R&B into cosmic territory. Signed to Columbia Records and energized by the San Francisco scene, they blended gospel roots with electrified experimentation. Label executives nearly canceled sessions because they felt the material was too strange and too long. The band refused to cut their songs into radio-friendly pieces and instead kept building towering crescendos during recording. Imagine a dark club in 1968 with swirling lights and a crowd packed shoulder to shoulder as harmonies echo like thunder. Although they brushed mainstream success only briefly, the brothers influenced every soul-rock hybrid that came afterward. If that burst of energy shook you, the next band delivers a leaner, tighter, and funkier sound. Number 6. Dyken and the Blazers by Dyken and the Blazers, early funk carved from streetlight heat. Dyken and the Blazers operated outside the major music hubs while pioneering early funk. Working in Phoenix and Los Angeles in 1968, they crafted a powerful and stripped-down sound that echoed through later funk generations.
Some people call me.
They often recorded in tiny studios with broken cooling systems. Musicians endured temperatures near 95 degrees and played until sweat changed the tone of the horn section. That intensity seeped into every track. You can almost feel the nighttime pavement radiating heat beneath your shoes while the bass snaps against the drum. Though they rarely achieved widespread fame, their rhythmic style became a blueprint for funk artists across the country. And if that gritty groove hits you, the next band brings a tender Memphis glow. Number 5, The Mad Lads by The Mad Lads, Memphis Velvet with a quiet pulse.
I want a girl.
By 1968, the Mad Lads were deep inside the Stax and Volt orbit, carving a niche built on harmony and softness. While the Memphis sound around them grew louder and rawer, the Mad Lads explored gentler territory filled with warmth. Because their music was not as explosive as Stax's biggest names, they were often scheduled for late-night sessions. Picture them singing after midnight while the city quieted outside. A tired engineer leaned back in his chair while gentle harmonies floated through the dim studio room. Their songs from 1968 did not climb the charts, but they became treasured by deep soul collectors. If that felt like a glowing ember of harmony, prepare yourself for a blast of brass-fired intensity. If these hidden R&B gems from 1968 are bringing back memories or inspiring new ones, tap the like button. It truly helps keep this soulful journey alive. And stick around, because we still have 4 rare treasures waiting to shine. Number 4, The Kings of Rhythm by Ike and Tina Turner's Kings of Rhythm, the engine behind the fire. While Ike and Tina Turner were rising toward global recognition in 1968, the Kings of Rhythm remained the powerful force behind their sound. Their playing during the Blue Thumb Records era delivered a scorching mix of rhythm and early funk with a rock-leaning edge.
You know I came through that door. Found my baby.
Studio engineers often said the Kings of Rhythm did not warm up. They simply began playing and instantly created a wall of sound. Imagine standing in a rehearsal room while the horns explode forward. Tina cuts through the mix with fierce vocals, and every musician locks into a rhythm that feels unstoppable. Although the spotlight rarely fell on them, their disciplined and fiery style became a model for future backing bands. If that brought you heat, The next group brings refined sorrow and Detroit elegance. Number 3, The Fantastic Four by The Fantastic Four. Detroit elegance glowing with emotional force. By 1968, the Fantastic Four were one of Detroit's most overlooked treasures. Working with Rick Tick Records, they created a polished yet emotionally heavy sound shaped by both Motown's influence and their own dramatic style. They protected their creative choices fiercely. While many groups relied on producers to shape arrangements, the Fantastic Four rehearsed every harmony until it blended like liquid gold. Picture a Detroit studio, hazy with smoke, lit softly while 4 voices rise in unison. They never reached the national spotlight of their peers. But deep soul fans and quiet storm singers drew inspiration from their 1968 work. If that was refined sorrow, the next band offers southern intensity and heartfelt devotion. Number 2, The Masqueraders by The Masqueraders, Texas harmonies reborn in Memphis air. Originally from Dallas, The Masqueraders moved to Memphis where American Sound Studio reshaped their sound in 1968. Their recordings from this period were steeped in gospel and silky R&B textures. A surprising detail. They auditioned for Stax Records and were rejected for being too polished. They responded by pouring even more focus into their American sound material, recorded mostly live. You can sense the Memphis humidity, the creaking wooden floors, and the quiet unison of musicians pushing themselves to the limit. Though they never became mainstream stars, collectors and soul historians later lifted their work as a perfect example of devotion and harmony. And now, nothing can prepare you for the forgotten powerhouse waiting at number 1. Number 1, The Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band by the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, the true architects of West Coast soul funk. At the top of our list stands a group that deserved far more fame in 1968. The Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band helped define West Coast R&B with a raw, rhythmic, neighborhood-influenced sound. Under the guidance of Charles Wright, they fused funk, blues, and R&B into music that felt like the heartbeat of Los Angeles. Many of their early breakthroughs came from spontaneous community center jam sessions. Kids peeked from doorways, while the band created grooves that rolled like warm evening air. Picture hot nights with windows open, street sounds blending into the rhythm, and a band creating something both local and timeless. Their 1968 recordings shaped the future of funk and influenced later hip-hop sampling. Their music was cultural electricity, full of pride and pulse. From psychedelic gospel explosions to soft Memphis harmonies and West Coast street soul, these bands proved that 1968 was full of hidden brilliance shaping the heartbeat of R&B. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Subscribe to keep the groove alive and never miss our next deep dive into the music that shaped generations. Up next is our look at the most 10 obscure R&B bands you need to hear from 1967. Click on the end screen and let the rhythm continue.